What's going on, guilty guys and gals? I'm on my break, but the leaks keep leaking. They're leaking everywhere. They've ruined my carpet. What am I going to do now? Anyway, this is an image created by Centro, which is talking about the leaked Pokemon forms so far, which is all I really care about. The new Pokemon, let them be in a trailer. Hearing about them doesn't do anything for me. It's just the forms that get me excited, alright? Details about the game? Who cares? But here we are. And I've made a bunch of, images to sort of speculate what my ideas are for what these forms could be. I've already talked about a few of them in my last video. If you didn't see it and you want to, it exists. It's got the actual images for the leaks. So yeah, here we go. So first off, we only have 2 regional forms, which is kind of crazy until you realize all the other stuff we've got going on. And all we know is that Wooper is going to get a poison-type variant. I'm imagining it'll be something more axolotl-like, because that's what Wooper is, although you'd hardly be able to tell. And I don't know, I just put up its shiny form because it kind of looks like poison-type colors, and maybe they'll reference it for the new form. We'll see. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. So, here we are. And then there's Tauros. And this one's a little bit confusing to me, because I don't know if this ever got debunked. But at some point, I remember there being a leak about this Tauros form being based on the Minotaur, or the Minotaur. It is the Bull of Minos. So, anyway, I just don't... Alright. Hold on, let me zoom in so you can actually see what this is. I don't think it'll be that different looking from Tauros, though, right? Because it's just a regional form. It's not a regional evolution. It should still look like Tauros, just, retooled. And if it's based on a Minotaur, how does that work, right? Because, I doubt it would stand up, because that's so different from Tauros. And that kind of thing usually doesn't happen. You think about Galarian Zigzagoon, it's basically just Zigzagoon with a new coat of paint. The same for, Galarian Weezing, and Alolan Ninetales, and Hisuian Sneasel. So I don't think it'll, stand up. So this is the closest thing I can think of for, a Minotaur-inspired Tauros. I'm not sure. The leaker has specified that it is colored black. Wow, very helpful. I don't know, it's ugly, and I hope it's not like this, but I don't know what else to say. So let's move away from Tauros, because I don't want to talk about him anymore, and move on to Primeape, right? Primeape getting an evolution is so good. Primeape is so bad. I had a Nuzlocke. The very first series on the channel was a Nuzlocke where I had a Primeape named Hipra, and it was just horrible. Primeape is just not good, even back then. So it getting an evolution is great. There's 2 directions it could go, right? Because Primeape is this extremely angry Pokemon. It's like a little ball of anger. It's literally got the anger mark on its head, right? You know what I mean? The little, here, let me draw it. The little... one of them. Yeah, that was pretty good. Good for me. Anyway, so there's 2 directions I can see you taking here. Either you make a Primeape that has, reached that point of anger where it is suddenly broke, and now it is, reached enlightenment, and it's totally calm. Or you do an even more angry Primeape. So here's a Zen mode Darmanitan to represent, Primeape that has gone full circle and is now extremely calm and probably psychic type, right? Or the other way, where Primeape gets so energetic that it's moving around so violently that the its fur, it's like a ball of fur, right? So it gets charged with static electricity and becomes an electric fighting type, and its hair is standing on end, and it's like a little ball of electricity. I don't think they'd actually do that, but that was a cool idea I had, so I wanted to share it. The leaker did mention that Palmy's evolution is electric fighting, which, by the way, we've never had an electric fighting Pokemon before. So, I doubt that it'll actually be that way for Primate. Maybe it'll be a Fireball. Who knows? But those are the two directions it can really only go. It can either go Zen, or it can go, like, Infinite Rage. Alright, this is the first one where I'm actually going to have to, like, move to a different picture, because Wooper's new evolution that isn't Quagsire is probably going to be based on this statue in Spain. I think it might be a fountain. I think it spits water. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But it's like this lizard thing. I can imagine like a Quagsire, a skinnier Quagsire looking thing with like a mosaic pattern on its back. That would be kind of cool. But it's probably going to be based on this, and apparently it is poison type. So that'll be interesting. It's going to be kind of weird to go from Quagsire, which is water ground, to now Quagsire that is weak to ground. Because it's poison type. But yeah, that's that one. This is almost assuredly true, although it's completely unconfirmed. Okay, next we got Murkrow. This is an interesting one, because when we think of Murkrow now, because we've had Honchkrow for so long, we think of Murkrow as this like little gangster, right? Which makes sense. I mean, crows have little gangs, maybe. But that wasn't the original design for Murkrow. It was actually, we know from the beta leaks, that Murkrow originally had a little witch hat, and it was like a witch crow, which also makes sense because, you know, that's like a not famous, but I guess likely connection to draw between crows and magic, like dark magic specifically. So I can imagine a Murkrow evolution based on this concept. Where it is sort of like a potion seller, or like a potion brewer that is like a flying poison type, or maybe dark poison, I don't know what you do, one of those, where it drops like little concoctions on people. I think that'd be interesting. Or it could just be straight up magic. Who knows? Then there's Dunsparce. If you don't know what Dunsparce is based off of, and you are expecting it to evolve into like a wyvern, let me burst your bubble here. It is based off of this. Which is called the Tsuchinoko, or Tsukinoko, one way or the other. Anyway, it's basically this elusive mythical snake Pokemon, or snake creature, rather, from Japan that creates earthquakes. And Dunsparce's evolution is supposedly just, like, a bigger Dunsparce. So, I'm imagining, like, maybe a little bit longer and a lot fatter. That's what I'm imagining. Probably, maybe ground type? Dunsparce deserves it, okay? Come on, give it Stab Earthquake. Just for the lore. It's not going to be good, but just for the lore. Then we have Girafarig, which we already know the evolution of. It is this hoodie-wearing Girafarig. Which is cool, I guess. Apparently it's pure Psychic type, which confuses me. But maybe it's got some sort of ability where it's, like, immune to Ghost types or something. Because I don't know. To me, I feel like it should be Psychic Dark, but I don't know. We'll see when we get to the actual game. This could have changed. This could have been misinformation, because I haven't seen anybody talking about it. But originally, when the leakers said that Pawniard was getting an evolution, and that's the way people were interpreting it, they said it was based on a Rook, which is the castle chess piece. And now it's been clarified to actually be Bisharp getting an evolution. But does Rook still not make sense? Like, that's another chess piece, right? And it's not the knight, which Bisharp already kind of looks like anyway. It's not going to become a horse. And it's not the king or queen, because, I mean, I guess you could do that, and it be a gender difference, where you have, like, slightly different looks, because that's what the king and queen are on a chessboard anyway. But if it is based off a Rook, that actually maybe makes a lot of sense, because Bisharp's base stat total is, like, big. Giving it an evolution and giving it more stats would actually, like, propel it into way powerful land, like Ultra Beast territory. So I wonder if instead it's going to be more like, what's the one I'm thinking of? Well, here, let's use a good example. Trapinch has base 100 attack, right? And when it evolves, it doesn't actually gain any more attack than that. In fact, I think Flygon has less attack, but its stats get buffed up in a lot of other areas, like defense, where it had like 40. And I feel like it could be the same situation here with Bisharp, where Bisharp is a very frail Pokemon. It is all attack and all speed, and maybe its evolution is basically just redistributing some of that into defenses so that it's not completely a one-shot kill. You know what I mean? That might seem strange, but if it is based on a Rook is a tower, right? It's a defensive tower. And I guess that would just make sense. Maybe these spikes that are on it turn into shields or something. The axe on its head turns into a proper helmet, you know? That's all I could think of. I'm very excited because I like Bisharp a lot, and I'm very excited to see what they do with it. I was really hoping they would do, when regional variants came about, I was really hoping they do Pawniard, but it evolves into a whole chess set. So if we're not getting that, at least give me a Bisharp evolution. Okay. Now, we are into the crazy stuff, alright? This is Ancient and Future Species. And we're going to start with Ancient, and then we're going to work our way down and do Future. So we're starting with Jigglypuff. You've seen the image, I've seen the image. It is Jigglypuff with fangs. And the prevailing sort of look for it is like a vampire Jigglypuff. Which, to be fair, the picture doesn't really show at all. Other than the fact that its eyes change color, there's nothing to really lead to the idea that it's a vampire. It could just be like a primal Jigglypuff. But nothing else on it really changes. So, you know, that's one point in the world of vampire Jigglypuff. The other thing is, the leakers have specified that Ancient and Future Species don't have evolution lines. Like, they're like Ultra Beasts, other than don't look at Poipole, okay? Where they don't evolve. They're just standalone, like, legendaries almost in status. So, if that is the case, and Jigglypuff is getting an Ancient species, how is that going to work? Jigglypuff is not strong, and the leaker has made it clear that these Pokemon are powerful, right? And then I had a thought. If Jigglypuff is a vampire, maybe instead of being like a suck your blood vampire, instead it relies on something that Jigglypuff does in the anime, which is, you know, hypnotize people, sort of. Now, Jigglypuff's songs in the anime, actually, they just put people to sleep, right? It's literally using sing, and that's the joke. But, this is the stupidest image I could find. Vampires have, like, sometimes mind control powers. And if that's the case, and Jigglypuff is, like, a little mind control cult vampire baby that makes a bunch of stronger Pokemon do its work for it, that could be very interesting, because then its strength might not come from its stats, but maybe it has an ability or a move where in double battles it just makes its partner Pokemon extremely strong, or something like that, you know what I mean? Or it's able to stop opponents' Pokemon from attacking completely. Something like that. Because that's sort of an evolution, I guess a de-evolution, of its Cute Charm ability, which does sort of the same thing of stopping opponents from attacking, right? That was my thought, and I think it's brilliant, but it's probably not going to be right. Anyway, then we have Amoonguss. I've already talked about what I think Amoonguss is, which you've seen the image, like I've said, like for Jigglypuff. It's like Amoonguss, but it's got like green spikes hanging from it. And all I can think that could be is hanging moss, which is what this picture is. Which is like a very swamp or like humid, wet environment sort of thing. So I have to imagine maybe it's an Amoonguss that instead of being poison type is grass and water or something, and lives in swampy areas, which I guess could still be poison, but regardless, it's Amoonguss with hanging moss. I don't know what else to say about it. These ones with the pictures are harder to form wild theories about because we've seen them, you know what I mean? But now we're away from that, so we don't have to worry about it. Next is Volcarona. If you asked me what Pokemon would be getting a form, I would not have said Volcarona, but here we are. And for this one, I don't even have a picture. All I have for you is a Pokedex entry. So let me try to find the right one. I think it's this one. Right. So, in ancient times, when volcanic ash darkened the atmosphere, it is said that Volcarona's fire provided a replacement for the sun. Volcarona was so powerful in ancient times that it could replace the sun. That is insane. So I'm just thinking of like an extremely powerful Volcarona, essentially. Like one that is like blazing with fire. An embodiment of the sun, you might say. Yeah, that's all I've got. Ancient Volcarona sounds pretty cool. But it's probably not going to be as interesting as future Volcarona, which it also has. Anyway, Salamence, we'll come back to you. Gen 2 Pokemon, we'll come back to you. Mischievous. Okay, here we are. It's Mischievous. Woo! So all I can think of, right? It's an ancient form of a ghost-type Pokemon. Is it not then just a living version of it? Right? That's all I can think of. And now, this is really pushing it for how far Pokemon will go, but here's what I thought, okay? Because Mischievous is loosely based on the Banshee myth, which is a ghost that screams, essentially. And it's an old Irish folklore. So, we can talk about this. Irish legend speaks of a lament sung by a fairy woman or banshee. She would sing it when a family member died or was about to die, even if the person had died far away and the news of their death had not yet come. In those cases, her wailing would be the first warning of the household of the death. Right? We're talking about this section here. There's more. Banshees are predictor of death. More about the actual origins of this kind of stuff. So hear me out. What if it is mischievous but alive, and it is a fairy-type Pokemon because of this fairy woman thing, and then the reason that this fairy Pokemon is crying out is because its species is dying out, right? It is literally, she would sing it when a family member died or was about to die. So, even if the news of their death was far away and had not yet come, this is a species of Pokemon that in ancient times is wailing and crying because its entire species is turning into ghost types. You know what I mean? Is that too far for Pokemon? Probably. They did do Galarian Corsola, which is literally dead Corsola. So, it's possible that they could bring us a live Mischievous, and the reason that it is crying, or like it does its sort of banshee wailing, is because it is a little fairy whose entire species is dying out in the past. That's all I could come up with Mischievous. I don't know what else it could be. And honestly, that is a cool origin for a Pokemon if they go for it. Here we go. Okay, we're into future forms now. And you can see the scary vampire image. Oh, don't look into his eyes! Okay, a Delibird, right? This is wild to me. I can't believe they gave Delibird something. But, what, did I see one that I didn't? Okay, no. It's a future species. All I can think about is that it's a drone. I mean, it's a delivery bird, right? If that is the case, instead of having a sack, which is a very, like, antiquated way of delivering things in, like, a sack, it has, like, a drone, and it's a little drone pilot. I don't think Delibird itself would become a drone, because that would look very strange, but I can see it being, like, a little drone pilot with, you know, a drone flying overhead. Future species are... One of the leakers said something about them being, like... They're called, like, iron whatever. So future species being all steel types is possible. Although it would be very sad. I hope they're not just all steel types. But that's sort of what I've gone for here. Based off of that tweet. I hope it's not the case, but we'll see. So yeah, Delibird, but it's a drone pilot. Gallade Now, this Gallade form is apparently a mixture of Gardevoir and Gallade. So I brought up this image of a Gardevoir Gallade fusion from the Infinite Fusion wiki. I bet you never thought I'd mention that game again. And essentially, this is what we'd be looking at. We're looking at it like a fighting Gardevoir, essentially. That's pretty cool. It's kind of a fun idea to think of. This was one Pokemon that originally was just Gardevoir, and then in Gen 4, it got a split evolution to be Gallade. And now in Gen 9, those split evolutions are coming back together to create a single Pokemon. I have to imagine it'd be Fairy Fighting type, right? Because they're both already Psychic types, so if you make it Psychic Fighting, that's just Gallade again. If you make it Psychic Fairy, that's just Gardevoir again. So Fighting Fairy would be a very interesting idea. It's just like, screw the Psychic type, who needs it? And it's like a combination. It's very interesting. And if it's not Steel type, that could open up some doors. So hopefully. I'm very interested in this Pokemon because Gardevoir and Gallade are cool, but neither of them are very good. So I'm interested to see that this one will be. Future Volcarona. There's only one thing it could be, right? If it's a substitute for the sun in the past, then it's solar panels, right? Instead of wings, it's got solar panels, and maybe it looks like a little satellite or something. The other option is just a ball of fire, but I don't think they'd do that. Solar panels seems to make sense. That's basically all I've got to say for that one. And then we'll skip past Tyranitar and the Gen 2 Pokemon. We'll come back to them. Don't worry, we're going to talk about convergent species first, though. Alright. So if you don't remember from last time, because I think I was still under the impression that convergent species, or R-fakes, as Ku called them, were like genetically engineered Pokemon. No, they are convergent evolution, which I don't remember if I explained this last time, but I'm going to explain it again. Here we go. So convergent evolution in real life is when two completely separate species evolve a similar trait, or they evolve to look similarly because they fill the same niche in two different locations. So for example, let's say, a very classic kind of example, you got two birds, and they live completely separate from one another. They are completely different species. They never interact. However, they have extremely similar beaks, right? Their beaks look almost exactly the same. They perform almost the exact same function because they've both evolved to drill into bark, like tree bark, in order to pick out bugs in there. And this is the same idea except taken to its logical extreme, which is that this is literally a Pokemon that looks exactly like a Pokemon you know, except it's not. So for Diglett, basically, we're talking about this lovely Diglett fake. It's not going to actually look like this, but it is a water Diglett that is probably a little eel that sticks its head into the dirt that looks like Diglett. Because they're actually little eels that do that. They dig under the dirt and they stick their head up to, bite at things. I'm just imagining a Diglett now that looks like this, like actual Diglett, except it's got like a mouth under its nose that opens up and it's got extremely sharp teeth or something. Creepypasta Diglett. Anyway, so that's what convergent evolutions, or convergent species, I suppose is what they're being called, are about. And the only other one we know about so far is a Gen 1 water type that goes from the water to the land. Don't exactly know what that means, but it is a Pokemon we're used to being water type that is now not water type, is what the assumption is. I do believe Ku actually tweeted two other ones that aren't here, which is a Teddiursa that becomes bug type, and a Sudowoodo that becomes grass type. So a tree that looks like Sudowoodo, but is actually a tree instead of being a rock in disguise. And then some sort of Teddiursa that's a bug type. The best guess I have on that one is that it is like a beekeeper, because Teddiursa love honey. So instead of trying to steal honey from bee Pokemon, it's like a bear Pokemon that has learned to be in sync with bee Pokemon and instead tends to them and gains its honey that way. So it is part bug type because it, you know, controls bug types, sort of. I don't know how else you could make a Pokemon that looks like a bear that is a bug. That's scary otherwise. But those aren't listed here. Stupid. Get your head in the game. Anyway. So let's talk about this Gen 1 water type that's coming to land. Here's a picture of all the Gen 1 water types. Let me zoom out so you can see them all for sure. Right. So which one is it going to be? Magikarp is a fish. There's no way we have a Pokemon that looks like a fish that is on land. And I doubt it'll be an evolution. So we're just going to cross out all the fish real quick. Where's the other fish? There you are, Seeking. And Goldeen. I don't think it's going to look like a starter Pokemon. In which case we can get rid of Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise. I don't think it can look like Horsey either because it doesn't have legs. If it's on land, I think it would have legs. And this is like a weird bug. I don't know. Same with Cloyster and Shelder. Well, we'll leave them. It could potentially be like a, you know, some sort of shelled land animal. Like a turtle or something that looks like Cloyster and Shelder. I don't know. Tentacool and Tentacruel, I suppose it could be, because it could be like a little grass type that, or a spider maybe, that kind of looks like them, maybe. I'm going to cross out Seal and Dugong. I just don't think they're important enough. And I'm going to cross out Slowbro, Slowpoke, Golduck, and Psyduck, because they already go on land, so it wouldn't be weird. And that leaves us with these. A Pokemon that looked like Starmie and Staryu would be interesting. I forgot you can't see my mouse. Let me just circle them so you can look at them. That would be interesting. I could see it being like some sort of weird bug, or maybe a rock-type crystal Pokemon that looks like them. That'd be cool. Poliwhirl? Politoed? No, it's not Politoed. Poliwrath and Poliwag. It would be strange, but there could be a land animal that looks like Poliwhirl, because Poliwhirl doesn't really look like a tadpole anyway. You know what I mean? The prevailing theory of most people right now is Lapras. And I suppose I can see why. It's a very iconic design with Pokemon. But, like, how? Is it going to have legs? Then it doesn't really look like Lapras, right? Like, from what we've heard from Diglett, it looks exactly like Diglett, except it's a water type and it's sort of different in terms of being a totally different species of Pokemon. I don't think you can make a Pokemon that looks like exactly like Lapras, but it's on land. I can, unless it's a snail, maybe? But we just had Goodra. Goodra is just a snail. Maybe that's more evidence, because it looks like a snail, and Game Freak is just on their snail phase or something. We did have leaks talking about a new crab Pokemon, which makes me feel not so good about Krabby and Kingler. Plus, Kingler just got something, so I'm going to cross him out. Who cares? Gyarados, like a snake that looks like Gyarados, is a very scary idea, but it's possible. And then finally, and my most hoped for versions, is one of the fossil Pokemon. Those being Kabuto, Kabutops, Omastar, and Omanite. If one of them got a regional fake, like a snail that looks like Omanite, sure. I don't think that'll happen. But the one I really want is a bug that looks like Kabuto. Or like even a rock type that looks like Kabuto, with like the shining eyes under a shell. It sounds cool. And since we know fossils aren't in this game, like there aren't fossil Pokemon just walking around in this game, this would be a good way to include some of those designs, right? And, I mean, Kabutops already looks like a bug. So turning it into a bug-type Pokemon would not be hard. And the same for Kabuto. And I think that would be very cool, because it'd be like a real-life fossil. You're like hanging out in the woods and suddenly you get attacked by a Kabuto, except it's not, it's a bug type. That'd be very cool. So that's my best guess, is Kabuto. Although there are some other good picks here, Gyarados and Lapras. Okay. now we get to the wild stuff. Let's talk about Salamence and Tyranitar before we go to more speculation, alright? So the prevailing theory right now is that Salamence is getting an ancient form and Tyranitar is getting a future form. I don't know if this was explicitly confirmed or if we're just assuming this because of Salamence's lore, right? Which states that, you know, Bagon is always trying to fly, right? It's banging on its head and stuff, and then eventually it evolves into Salamence and grows wings. So clearly, our ancient form of Salamence would be a Salamence that doesn't have wings, right? That hasn't evolved them yet. But uh-oh, here comes the lore police. Is it this one? Yes. Alright. We're talking about this first entry here. Its belief that it will be able to fly one day is apparently the influence of information carried in its genes. This confused me so much when I read it, but let me break it down for you. The reason that Bagon, this is Bagon's Pokedex entry, by the way, the one that doesn't fly. The reason Bagon is so dead set on flying is because information carried in its genes from being Salamence, going to evolve into Salamence, is making it believe it should be able to. So, internally, it has DNA to fly already. Salamence has always had wings. It is because of Salamence that Bagon wants to fly. Which totally debunks the idea that an ancient form of Salamence wouldn't have wings. I'm not saying it couldn't still be an ancient form. I'm not even saying that Game Freak remembers this Pokedex entry from Sun and Moon. In fact, they could have totally forgotten about it, or they could just retcon it. But let's think in the opposite way for a second, right? What would happen if you swapped Salamence and Tyranitar, and instead Salamence became a future form, and Tyranitar became a past form? Because right now, if Salamence is getting an ancient form where it loses its wings, the only thing Tyranitar could really be is a reference to Mechagodzilla. Let me zoom in. Which is just, you know, Metal Godzilla, right? The problem with that is that Duraludon, which we got literally last gen, is already a reference to Mechagodzilla. Doing it twice in a row seems a little weird. So if instead of Mechagodzilla we swap them around and now it is an ancient form, what if it was Burning Godzilla? Godzilla that is like molten rock. After all, what are mountains before they're mountains? They are either plates touching magma or they are volcanoes. This is a primal Tyranitar that became a Tyranitar instead of a Larvitar eating an entire mountain. It ate a volcano, or it ate, you know, magma that would become a mountain. And this would be terrible for all of you Tyranitar fans because it would probably be Fire Rock and be like very bad competitively. But it does lead to Salamence maybe getting a cooler form, which is a jet plane. It makes so much sense to me because if these are like iron quote unquote Pokemon, Salamence already kind of looks like a plane in its Mega Evolution. And Salamence turning into like this metal jet fighter is so cool. Please just let me have a plane Pokemon. I don't know why I want it so bad, but I do. If you don't know, last gen, I speculated that Duraludon would evolve into a plane Pokemon because the metal Duralumin was used in planes back in the day. But no, it didn't happen. Duraludon was a standalone Pokemon. So this is your chance, Game Freak. Please, save me. Validate me. I like this idea a lot better. And again, I haven't seen any leak that specifically proves that Salamence and Tyranitar are even the ones getting forms. It's just assumed because we know Salamence is getting a form. But I don't know if it was specified whether Salamence was actually getting an ancient form or not. I think this is just an assumption. But if it's not, I don't know. This has been speculative history, where I tell you something that could have been really cool that's not going to happen. Anyway, speaking of speculation, final thing. What is this mysterious Gen 2 Pokemon? So, the leakers have made it clear that this is a random choice for a Pokemon. It is a forgotten Pokemon that nobody really wanted to get a form from Gen 2. So, I have a picture here with every Gen 2 Pokemon. We're going to do what we just did and cross them out, except I'm going to use red so it's easier to see. So, one of the leakers said there weren't starter Pokemon in the game, and Typhlosion already got a form, so we can pretty easily cross these folks out. Now, I know what you're saying. That was disproven. The other leaker came out and said, well, no, there are starter Pokemon in the game. But here's my thought. If the starter Pokemon were just in the game, and they were actually like a special form, you'd think the other leaker wouldn't have made that mistake. I think the reason they did is because they are playing the game, but they don't actually have info on the game. Which is why they don't have info on future forms, because they're only playing Scarlet version. That would be Kaka. The one that's literally giving us images and stuff. If this is true, then I have to assume that the starters that Ku is talking about when he says there are starter Pokemon in the game are transfers from Pokemon Home. Like, you can bring certain starters into the game. And if that's the case, I don't think any of these starters are getting special forms. So, yeah, we're crossing them out. We've got Sentret, Furret, Hoothoot, Noctowl, Ladybug, Ledian. Any of these could be it. These are all random choices for a Pokemon. I could argue that Furret is maybe too popular to be considered a random choice, but still, who really, other than the memes, nobody really thinks about Furret, right? And it's the same with Noctowl, and it's the same with Ledian. They all suck, they're all bad. They could all use a form. Ledian, there is a specific thing that might make Ledian more possible, which is the fact that one of the leakers said there was a new Kamen Rider bug Pokemon, like Kamen Rider inspired bug Pokemon. I hope I'm saying that right. I've only ever seen it in text. Ledian kind of looks like Kamen Rider. I should have brought a picture with me, but I don't have it. Maybe I'll put it in post. Here it is. He's like a bug superhero that rides a motorcycle, right? Ledian already looks like him. If you wanted to use that as evidence, I think you could. Although they do say there is a new Pokemon that looks like Kamen Rider that isn't a fighting type. So maybe that means that it can't be a form, or maybe it doesn't. Depends on the leaker's language. Depends on what their meaning is. So I'm going to quickly create a green color, and I'm just going to circle Ledian with this green color, because there's maybe some evidence to point to Ledian potentially getting both a past and future form. The future one based on Kamen Rider, and the past one, I don't know, cooler. Spinarak and Ariados are actually getting crossed off because there's a new spider Pokemon in the game, and I do not think it is them. Because we've seen in the trailer, well, I guess it's the same logic. We've seen in the trailer a spiderweb, but we haven't seen anything else. So there is a chance that Ariados is the one getting a past and future form, which would actually be cool. I like Ariados design-wise. I also like Ledian design-wise. They just both suck really bad. So if they want to do that, please do that. Crobat is a Kanto Pokemon. It's technically a Johto Pokemon, but like it's based off a Kanto Pokemon, so you'd think, they'd do Golbat first. I don't know. I just don't think it's very likely. Chinchou and Lantern are possible. I doubt it'll be a Babymon. Why would you give a past and a future form to one of these stupid babies, I could imagine a Chinchou and Lantern based on UFOs, by the way. That'd be cool. They already kind of have like the mysterious lights and everything. Togepi and Togetic are possible. There's nothing to say they can't be, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them a random choice. Togepi was pretty important to the anime. So that's like a soft no. Xatu would definitely be a random choice. Nobody cares about Xatu. Mareep is fairly popular, but I could definitely see Ampharos getting a Lighthouse version for a future form. So I won't say no. Blossom, I'm just going to leave Blossom here because Blossom needs something, so come on. Azumarill is very popular in terms of singles, like, competitive. But I could still see it being considered a random choice because, it's already fine. Why do you need to give it forms? You know what I mean? Sudowoodo is actually getting X'd out because of what we talked about with the R fakes. I doubt it would have both a past, future, and regional fake form. That would be strange. Politoed, I don't think so. Again, evolution of a Gen 1 Pokemon. It would be strange to only do Politoed. You know what I mean? Although I suppose they could. Hoppip, Skiploom, and Jumpluff are definitely within the category of a random choice. The same with Sunflora, Sunkern, even Apom. If they decided to do Apom and not Ambipom, that would be kind of random. Yanma is very deserving of a form too, and it would be considered pretty random. Wooper and Quagsire are already done. We already know they're getting a regional variant. I doubt they would get a fake form as well. Espeon and Umbreon are evolutions, and I'm just crossing them out on that. For that reason, it's not necessarily true that they can't have an ancient and future form, but it'd be weird to only do one of them. I'll say that much. Murkrow, we already know is getting a new evolution, so I doubt it'll get a regional form as well. Or a, you know what I mean, ancient form. Slowking just got something in Galar. Mischievous, we already know about. Unknown. It is ancient writings. I don't think you can do an ancient form for Unknown. Although it does deserve it, I'm just saying. Wobbuffet, that would be weird, but it could happen. Girafarig, no. We already know it's getting an evolution. Pineco and Fortress. Now this is a weird one, because I can totally imagine a Fortress that is a future form being like a bomb, and a past form being like a rock. You know what I mean? So I'm honestly going to circle Fortress, because these Pokemon are known for exploding. Right? It's just, it feels baked in. This could be very cool. Dunsparce, we already know about. Gligar would be interesting, like an ancient Gligar that doesn't fly yet, and maybe a future one that's like a plane, I guess? I don't know what else it'd be. So, I'll leave it. Steelix is an evolution of a Gen 1 Pokemon, but I really wanted to get a form, so I'm going to leave it. Snubbull and Gramble do deserve something, although, like, what the hell would you do with them as a past and future forms? I can't think of anything, but I'll leave them, I guess, because it's possible. Quillfish literally just got something, and by the same merit, Caesar, the Scyther line, just got something too. Shuckle? It deserves something. What do you do for an ancient form of Shuckle? I have no clue, but do it. You won't. Heracross, it's possible. I don't know what you do. Sneasel is out. Teddiursa and Ursaring just got an evolution, so they're done too. Slugma and Macargo. It could be. Swinub and Piloswine. I don't think you can do it, because you can't give Piloswine an ancient form. It already has one. It's called Mamoswine. Corsola got something in Galar. Not saying it can't get something, it's just less likely. Octillery? I'm just going to cross off Delibird while we're here, because we already know about it. Octillery could be cool. But I don't know. Mantine would have to be a plane. There's a lot of chances for a plane. Please give me a plane. I don't know why I want it even. I just want it. In the future form, I don't know what you do for the past form, but could be something. Skarmory, again, I don't know what you do for the future form. Past form, it could just be like, you know, instead of steel, it's got rock armor. Sure. Houndour and Houndoom, I'm just going to cross out. They just don't seem right for this concept. How do you make a past version of Houndoom and then a future version of Houndoom? They're like hellhounds. They're constant throughout all time. You know? I just don't see it. Kingdra would be cool. Dawnfan is actually a pretty good shout. You know why? It is a tire in the future, and in the past it could be more like an elephant. In the present it's like a mix of both, right? So if you split them apart, oh, in the past it's more of just a regular elephant Pokemon, and then in the future it's literally just a tire Pokemon. That'd be kind of cool. Porygon too. Not only does a past form not make sense, apparently download has been removed from the game, so Porygon is out entirely. Sorry. Sorry, Porygon. I love you. Stantler literally just got something. Smeargle would be cool. Can you imagine Cave Painter Smeargle in the past, and then digital artist Smeargle in the future with like an iPad? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Now, should I cross out some that I think are too obvious and they're not random enough? Like, Kingdra is not random enough, I think. Steelix, not random enough. They're too well known, right? This has to be a Pokemon that's just forgotten and nobody cares about. which is a lot of Gen 2. Heracross, it's too well known. Honestly, it pains me to do so, but I think I'm going to take off Mareep as well for just being too well loved. Alright, back to it. Actually, Skarmory is way too well known too. It's a singles baby. And you know what? I'm going to cross off these two. Just so we can see. Yeah, anyway. I don't think they'll do the Hitmons, because why would you only do one of them and not all three? More babies that are getting out of here. Miltank and Blissey would... Well, okay, let's say Blissey would not be random. Miltank would be random, but it would be weird to give Tauros original form, and then give Miltank an ancient and future form. That just seems, like, weird to me. I don't know why. They're not technically related at all, but they've been related in the last few games, so... Feels weird. Legendary Pokemon, it is safe to say, are too well known to be a random choice. We already know about Tyranitar getting a form, and then the rest are just legendaries, that being Lugia, Ho-Oh, and Celebi. Although I guess if Celebi got a form, I would say that was pretty random. Because, like, what? Why are you giving Celebi a form? But yeah, that leaves us with Furret, Noctowl, Ledian, Ariados, Lantern, Togetic, Xatu, Bellossom, Jumpluff, Aipom, Sunflora, Yanma, Wobbuffet, Forretress, Gligar, Granbull, Shuckle, Magcargo, Octillery, Mantine, Donphan, Smeargle, and actually Smeargle, that's it. With Ledian, Ariados, Forretress, and Donphan being my picks for this potential Pokemon that we're talking about here. And that's it! This was way too long. But that's it. That's my guesses for all of these so far. I had to get this out quickly because in the next, 3 days, we're going to get them confirmed. And I'm going to, all my speculating will be for nothing. But maybe I'll be proven right. I had pretty good luck when we did that Danganronpa stream, and I was like, oh, we're going to get Chiaki and Nekomaru today. And then we did, and it was completely random. So maybe, if you like one of my ideas here, maybe it'll actually come true. If you want any of these ideas to come true, hit the like button. Subscribe, you know what you need to do. I don't have to tell you anymore, do I? I do it all the time. Why not even try? And if you have any ideas of yourself, of your own rather, for what one of these Pokemon might be based off of, or their concept, let me know in the comments. It'll be very interesting to hear what you have to say. Because I love these new Pokemon forms. It's so cool. Okay, bye!